Right, hey guys, MJ here from Nitecore Singapore. Today we're gonna pick the 3 best lights for guard houses and security command centers. I'll also be sharing 2 things that you must know before buying and common mistakes that teams make when they set up their station. Before we begin, if you want to win this latest MH12 SE, right, make sure you subscribe to this channel, comment below on what kind of lighting problems your team is going through, so I might be able to help in a later video on another kit built specific to your team. Alright, so once we hit 500 likes, I'll announce the winner in the description box below. If you're here watching this, then you probably need to outfit your team with new lights to use on site, right? Have a limited budget and you're not sure what to get, right? So just last week, someone wanted to buy 6 sets of P30 bundles. So I asked him, hey, what are you using this for? So it was a team setup for a guard house in a base. So immediately the bundle is not a good fit because the charger that comes with the bundle, this UI1, right, this is actually meant for personal use, right? It can only slow charge 1 battery at a time. So you end up with 6 USB cables running to 6 chargers, which is a complete mess. So I re-kitted his bundle to double Q6 chargers. Right, so which makes more sense because in a guard house setup, the lights stay on property, right? It's not going to be a personal issue kind of setup. So much like walkie-talkies and body cams, you need a charging bay set up like this where you can put all your batteries in at the end of a shift and all that to get things charged up, right? So if we run through the list, yes, P30s are long throw lights to match his base patrol duties, matched with charging bays like this, with backups because there's 2 of this for redundancy, and that's it, they were good to go, right? So it's 3 things you need to have for guard house setups: the right beam type, removable batteries, and charging bays. So let's start with beam types. Say we have 3 lights here: P20IX flood beam, P20I is a mixed beam, and P30I here a long beam light. So how do I know which light to pick for my guys? So that depends on the type of property you are protecting. For checkpoint type of setups like immigration, customs, and traffic stop points, they will go for high powered lights like the P20IX here, alright? With the quad LED setup here, you can see. Right, why? Because floodlights can light up the entire vehicle or truck up close. Right, you can catch if a threat is trying to sneak out somewhere on the side. It's also bright enough to punch through heavily tinted windows. And flood is good for up close work, car trunk, searching bags, or checking under the hood. Right, you can see everything at once. Clear, then go. Right, spotlights like the P30 can only cover part of the car. Right, you can see the hotspot here. Right, and this intense hotspot that distracts you from, you know, when you're expecting things up close, then you keep seeing this white hotspot, right? So it's not optimized. And pro tip for high risk traffic stops, a high lumen floodlight will visually suppress everyone in the car while your guys go around because it covers a wide angle. Right, with the spotlight, I'm only lighting up one part. With the IX floodlight, bam, right, the whole car, whoever's behind in the flood beam will get visually suppressed, right? They're blinded, they can't take action. And there are 3 tungsten glass breakers in the steel bezel here. Right, so there was this video online of a car that got through a checkpoint because no one could break the driver's window. The car was powering down the accelerator down to the floor, the wheels were spinning white smoke, then they're using their batons to try and hit the car window to break it to get to the driver. But they couldn't break the window, so in the end the car broke the barrier and drove off. Right, so with this on hand, with the glass breakers built into the light, you can effectively break the window to stop someone or save someone from a burning crash. Next, for property type of guard houses, they will usually go with mixed beam lights like this that can cover a good 50 to 100 meters. This is the P20I. So the difference between the P20I and the IX is the flood beam. IX has 4 LEDs, I has 1 LED. Okay, so this gives it its longer beam throw. Now, why mixed beam lights, right? Because unlike the checkpoint setup, property personnel need to move through buildings, car parks, hallways, perimeter fencing, and specific checkpoints before they return to their posts. Right, places like hotels, office buildings, condos, power plants, factories, all fall under the same category. All of which you have to cover different distances, right, from big to small tight rooms to long car parks. And a mixed beam light like the P20I does that very well. Okay. Also, pro tip for those going through higher risk building patrols: always use hammer fist grip versus front grip when moving around corners, cars, and such. The front grip around a corner, you'll be exposed, right? You have no defense around your head, and they come at you with a weapon, right? You're done. They can also slap the light out of your hand and then you're also done. Hammer fist allows you to have it in chamber, right beside your head, so you always have access to your strikes with your light as your impact tool. Right, we do teach this in our flashlight defense course. Right, diagonal 1 hack down, diagonal 2 hack down on the backhand. Right, this cycle, so you always back on chamber number 1, 1, 2. Right, for some of you this looks familiar because it comes from the Kali short blade system. Right, just swap your light out for the blade and it's the same cycling strikes. Right, always protect your head with an X. So when you're turning a corner, you always want to practice this. If I'm checking left, stay in hammer fist, left hand always around chest area and check left. Right, because you can either strike down immediately or left hand block, push on, strike. Then you go to number 2. If you're checking to the right, you move your light under around your chamber number 2. Right, then your left hand goes behind here. Why? Because if you turn a corner like this in number 1 chamber, you are completely open to an attacker's number 1 attack swing to your head. Right, if you're on the flip side, I swing down on the number 1 diagonal is exactly here. Right, if my chamber is here, I can't block it. Right, if you have it in chamber 2, right, even if you flinch, you have your block and strike here. Right, step out to the left, down, and you're back to number 1 again. Right, you always have something close to your head to protect. Now this left hand is always ready to double strength your diagonal 2 and help you get out of a rush. Right, when someone charges in, slide to the left, double push out and go. Right, you don't want to have your left hand near your elbow here like this. Right, so if someone rushes in and you're double trap, right, you can't move this. Right, so very fluid from chamber 1, inspect left to chamber 2 to chamber 1 to chamber 2 again. Right, always in hammer fist, always ready to protect yourself. Right, so now you know. Alright, so the last property type will be open fields, farms and plantations, air bases like resorts, tree lines, where you need to cover a lot of ground from certain vantage points. Right, then you go for lights like this, the P30 or P30i here, with really big diameter bezels and reflectors and very long throw. These have incredible long beams that help you see far and spot any odd things that are going on without you having to walk all the way there to the end to see. Right, this is very straightforward for big open spaces. Always go for long beam lights, and you can tell it's a long beam by seeing this white spill and a very intense hotspot. This is obviously a long beam light. Okay, now we're done with picking the right light. We go with battery and charging. If your guys bring their own personal issue lights, then it's their responsibility to keep them charged before their shift. Right, but if it's a light that stays in the guardhouse, then you need charging stations like this, right, to keep everything topped up for the next guy that comes in for his next shift. Right, things like the Q6 6-bay charger and the CI4 are very great options. Now a point of confusion is what kind of plug works best. Right, because this CI4 comes with only USB cable, so you need to buy your own wall plug. Right, so what should I buy? First, check the charger. Now if you look on the side of the boxes, you have your 5V times 2 ampere, 9V times 2 ampere, and you get max of 18 watts. So there's no need to overkill on a 100W adapter plug unless you want to run triple CI4s like this, which need a total of 54 watts in order to run at max. This particular one is only a 45 watts, so I know if I want to run this and this is perfectly fine. Right, I can even run 2 of this and 1 of this. It's still within 45 watts, so that's fine. Okay, so now you know what plugs to buy. Just look at the max wattage on the box, then get an adapter that's above that on a single port and you're set. You don't want to buy a 100W adapter and then realize that one of the plugs only has a 10W output. Then when you plug your 18W cable into the 10W plug, then you won't get your maximum output. Okay, so that's one important thing to note. And the more batteries you charge at the same time, the slower it's going to charge the batteries. If you want to fast charge a battery for whatever reason, just put 1 battery in, so the current that comes in all goes into 1 instead of splitting into 6. Okay, so the guys will usually set the batteries to charge at the end of their shift, so the next guy that comes in will have a fully charged set at the beginning of their shift. Then how about built-in battery lights or built-in chargers? Right, there are 2 types, right? Lights like the TM9K here are built-in charging. Battery is not removable. These I wouldn't recommend for multi-person use because as soon as someone forgets to charge this, right, it becomes dead weight. I can't put in new batteries and go, right? Lights like the P20i, they can charge via the USB port here and the batteries are removable. So some guys, they don't want to keep removing their batteries all the time. They just plug it in at the end of their shift with the front USB-C port and have the batteries ready for backup if there's an emergency and you need to use the lights for longer periods. So that's it, the 3 best lights I'll go for based on your setup. If up close, checkpoint type, always go for the P20IX flood beam. If your setup is property based, go for mixed beam. Up to 1800 lumens is great, either the P20i here or the MH12 SE. Both very impressive. If your setup is big open fields, go long beam, right? 500 meters and above, like the MH25S or the P30i here is great. Right, all of them have removable batteries and built-in charging for flexibility. Right, then the last is charging, personal issue or use on-site only. You just need charging stations, backup batteries for emergencies, and a process to make sure that the shift starts with a fully charged set and you're good to go. Don't put your personal safety on the wrong flashlight. Right, many companies will just buy based on price or which is brightest, and then they end up with inferior lights that don't help the guys on the ground do their job. Right, so you should know your working distance, pick the right light and you'll be far more effective. Alright, so you can get all of these lights at nitecorelights.com. Link is below as well. If you need us or myself to kit out a custom setup for your team, just email us on the website and we'll be happy to help you get geared up. Alright, so all lights come with our 60-day money-back guarantee and fast-free 3-year warranty, so there's no risk at all. That's it. If you'd like to see more videos like this where we help you choose the best lights for your work or adventure, subscribe below and I will see you on the next video. Right, MJ signing out.